Broadcasting from Detroit's Cass Corridor, it's the Metro on WDET. I'm Tia Graham. This weekend is Record Store Day. In honor of the love for vinyls, we'll have a conversation with WDET's Dave Lawson, host of The Shakeout, which you can hear Tuesday nights from 8 to 9 p.m., and we'll learn all about his love for vinyls and why it's so important. However, we start with trends in the industry. Nowadays, technology changes the world around us at a fast pace. It's so fast that our jobs, the way we communicate, even the way we move around hardly resemble what they were like 10 or 15 years ago. Oftentimes, the new technology becomes the standard and the old one goes extinct. The music industry is very familiar with this. The songwriters and producers of today create music in bedrooms instead of major studios. Vinyls break this rule. In recent years, vinyls have consistently generated the most annual revenue among all physical music formats. They leapfrogged cassette tapes and CDs, which were considered more advanced than vinyls when they were released. With Record Day Store approaching, we want to explore how this happened. What changed in the last 20 years that allowed vinyls to reemerge in the streaming era? Jeremy Peters is a music business professor from Wayne State University. He joins me now to explain why vinyls are still cool in 2026. Professor Peters, welcome back to the Metro.
Thanks for having me, Tia.
Of course. So before we get into the vinyl record industry in general, let's begin with some pressing news. No pun intended there. Pressing news. Nice. Yesterday, a federal judge in Manhattan found that Live Nation and its subsidiary, Ticketmaster, operated as a monopoly that harmed consumers and overcharged ticket buyers. That decision came after 4 days of deliberation. So what does this mean for the future of concerts and the music industry?
I think it could mean that Ticketmaster and Live Nation might eventually have to separate as companies. The definition of a monopoly is sort of artificially limited suppliers. And I think the problem really exists that they're both kind of taking over the market in ticket sales and concert promotion at the same time. It doesn't leave a lot of space for other folks to compete. I mean, their next largest competitor is AEG, and it's 10 times smaller. We not to mention as well that they're also buying up the venue. So it's not just the sales and the promotion, but they also own the spaces. Yeah, buying up competitors, buying up independent spaces, buying up independent ticket providers, buying up other promoters, festivals, and so on and so forth. It's really kind of compressing the competitive space there.
And we've seen superstars like Taylor Swift who have gone toe-to-toe with this monopoly. How is this a win for touring artists, or how could this possibly be a win for touring artists?
I think it creates the possibility of other companies competing against one another to possibly benefit those touring artists. If they're competing against multiple offers from multiple promoters, the artist usually wins out there, and they're going to get better deals, better shares of tickets, the ticket splits, maybe better promotional activities, maybe a share of the significant amount of concessions revenue that goes on. All those things are negotiated in that process.
This is really exciting times for the music landscape because you just don't know what it could be, but it feels like something's going to change regardless because of this ruling. So I'm excited to see how this all shakes up. Now, let's start and get into vinyl record,
Sure.
The vinyl record industry. For curious minds who may not know but are curious, how are they made in the first place?
So it's a kind of complicated process, which I'll try to simplify a little bit here. You take an audio file, and then you use what's called a lathe, which basically scratches the grooves itself into the process. Here in Detroit, we have a company, Third Man Records, that actually does that in their offices right here by the WDET studios. And then they take that and through a multi-step process, turn that into a set of metal plates that you squeeze together over some vinyl, which has been heated up, and then do that over and over and over and over again. Put on a label, put it in a piece of cardboard, and then you have a vinyl record.
It is just so fascinating, once again, because when you see them being made and pressed, and then you put the little needle in and the music comes out, it's just like magic almost.
Yeah, exactly. For anyone that wants to see that process happen in person, you can actually go watch it happen. There's clear, I don't know if it's glass or plastic at Third Man Records, but you can actually see the stampers pressing the vinyls there. It's really cool to be able to see that, especially as a vinyl nerd like me, a music nerd, to be able to see that process happen. When we were making records back when I worked in the music industry, it sort of was like I understood how it worked, but I never saw it.
Saw the process. Yeah, all the people out there who love watching the shows, like how it's made. Here we go. We can just walk past Third Man Records and watch how it's made. Now, how did the process or price of making a vinyl compare to making a cassette tape or a CD?
It's a lot more hands-on process, so it's a little bit more expensive. As far as I remember, it cost about $3 or $4 a unit. Depends on, if you're making a lot of them, the price goes down, but it costs $3 or $4 a unit for the record company to actually make that vinyl piece, sort of if you put all the parts together. It takes a lot of time. There's not a lot of capacity to do that because vinyl's gotten really popular, so you have to plan way ahead of time. That's costly as well. And a CD, because it's sort of all mechanized, it's run on a conveyor belt almost. It's much cheaper per unit to do.
As a person who used to burn CDs often, I definitely understand how easy it is to create a CD and put music on that.
Yeah, just think of that times maybe 1,000 CD burners or something that they're going 24/7.
Just a lot easier than it is to create a vinyl. So why was the decision made to slow the production of vinyls when labels did? They switched to cassette, which were more mobile in cars. So what was going on?
I think the fact about the cars was a big deal. People wanted to have their music portable and take it along with them. I think that vinyl was looked at as a difficult music medium to use. They're heavy, take up a lot of room. Anybody who's a vinyl collector, their partner should have some issues with that. I know I have my vinyls in my office at work, partially just from the storage issue there. And that's some of the reason why I think it went down, especially when the CD came out. A lot more music, a lot more data on a little small disc. And you could have a CD changer, I'm dating myself a little bit, but a 6-disc CD changer in your car, listen to all that music all at once and have some selection there, which natively we know now with streaming. Like that seems easy to do, but back then that was kind of revolutionary.
It was revolutionary. My dad had one of those multiple disc changers, and I remember going in the back trying to put in like Holla Back Girl, Gwen Stefani or something.
Just try to slide it in there so it comes up.
Oh, how did that get there? Oh,
I don't know.
I don't know. So why was the decision made? Once again, when we think about just vinyls and we think about just the future and has it started to expand, when did we start to see a comeback?
I think we started to see a comeback sort of tied to more of a collector culture, the baby boomer generation and their offspring sort of aging into being able to collect things and being really into music. I think that fueled a little bit of it. I think that retro fascination, you see people wearing Doc Martens again now. You see people wearing...
So you're looking in my wardrobe?
wide leg jeans and things like that. And we see that in terms of, the music that popular musicians, the top 40 musicians are quoting now, from someone like Dua Lipa working with Elton John. And so I think that's tied in with that sort of sociological shift as well. And it's really sort of helped the music industry in a very specific way. I mean, vinyl sales are way up over the last few years. The average amount we're paying per vinyl record has actually increased by around $5, even just in the last 3 years per unit.
That's actually, we're going to get into that more because that is so interesting. I actually noticed that the prices have gone up, but I think people are really just hungry for a different quality or a different sound of music coming through their headphones or whatever they're playing at that particular moment. You're listening to The Metro On 1019 WDET, I'm Tia Graham. My guest is Jeremy Peters. He is a professor of music business at Wayne State University. Today, we are discussing how vinyls became the highest selling physical form of music 20 years after they were nearly extinct, which is amazing. So you mentioned the subculture, the surrounding vinyl started, the collection of boomers passing that information down to their kids and so on and so forth. Why do you think people picked vinyls back up? Where is the appeal now?
I think there's some appeal that's being created by the labels and the artists themselves. In one way, it's an easy way to create special editions because it's made with vinyl and you can add color to vinyl really easily. And so you can make really cool looking marble or clear vinyls. My own record label, we made a record that was clear vinyl and screen printed on the other side, which was not easy to manufacture, but it ended up looking really cool. That record sold out. And examples like that where I think it creates a special item. And maybe, if I'm putting my economist hat on for a second, it's artificial lack of supply, but you really want to go out and get that from someone like a Swiftie who's going to go to Target and get that specific limited edition to someone who's going to support their local independent record label or the artist that's up and coming and buying that on, Bandcamp directly from that artist.
Loved you brought up Taylor Swift once again. She's probably the one person I know that is selling the vinyls the fastest. So many people around me in general have vinyls of Taylor Swift music. So,
Same.
So it's really, really nice to see that, someone as large as Taylor is helping bring that industry back. But you, of course, are a self-proclaimed nerd.
Yes, I own that label.
Was there a subculture that is responsible for keeping vinyl alive in the mid-2000s?
I do think so. I mean, we are the home of techno, and dance music has always been played on vinyl. It has been performed as the main medium that DJs are using. And I worked at a electronic music record label here in the Metro Detroit area, Ghostly International. Almost all of our releases, I should say, were on vinyl. Because there was interest with that fan base and those artists, that we were promoting to and the DJs that were playing our music wanted them on vinyl. Those collectors, jazz aficionados, I think there's a certain sense of gravitas that comes with listening to a jazz record on vinyl. There's also a certain, if you'll excuse me, sexiness to like the process of opening up a record, putting the needle down. It's a process. It's a sort of intentive process that I think that people really get into. And it's really easy to become a collector and then to buy really nice turntables and then to buy really nice sound systems. I haven't quite gone all down that rabbit hole yet, but I could see myself getting there.
I do not own a record player yet because I want to make sure it's a good one, a really nice one. So I've been searching those thrift shops. I've been going to different resale shops, anywhere I can go to try to find a really nice set, speakers as well as a record player. But before we get out of here, a large topic when it comes to the business of music is the amount of money musicians are paid for the work itself. We know there's little money to be made in streaming. We hear it all the time. Since a vinyl is a physical object, do artists themselves make more money from selling vinyls?
They do, because record labels and if the artists are selling directly, they can charge more for that. We perceive as fans a lot more value in the big format, the beautiful artwork on the cover, the opportunity to have more storytelling and words on the inside of the record, to be able to open a gatefold vinyl, which is one of those that kind of opens up like a book and have all the art in the middle. Not to mention the sort of the heft and the audio fidelity that comes out of playing that. People value that, and they're willing to pay much more than they were for a CD, which was going for like $10 to $15 a unit. The starting low end price might be $20, $25 for a vinyl, and even just on a normal royalty deal, that's more money coming in, which means more money that's going to go through the or that's going to come out in royalties, even though it costs a little bit more marginally per unit to make.
Jeremy Peters is a professor of music business at Wayne State University. He gave us just a glimpse, just a sliver of the world of vinyl records, creating them and the industry surrounding them. Professor Peters, thank you so much for joining us on the Metro.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Of course. Coming up, the vinyl revival was helped out by Record Store Day, which started in 2008. Up next, WDET's Dave Lawson, host of The Shakeout and resident record collecting expert, joins the Metro to talk about how it's changed over 15 years later. You all stay right there. This is the Metro.